Okay, we'll continue now in the Gemara on Daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, page 23, side A, in the Gemara Megillah. So, the Gemara says, Man Tana Laha the Tanya. The Gemara is trying to figure out who is the Tana that said the following statement. The Gemara is basically going to try to see if it fits with one of the two rabbis quoted before, one of them being Rabbi Yishmael and the other one being Rabbi Akiva. Basically, they argued before, when do we do 6 aliyahs and when do we do 7 aliyahs? According to Rabbi Akiva, it's the reverse. You do 7 aliyahs on Yom Kippur, and you do 6 aliyot on Shabbat. According to Rabbi Yishmael, you do, as we do, 6 aliyahs on Yom Kippur and 7 aliyahs on Shabbat. So the Gemara is trying to associate this brisa, the following brisa, and the Gemara assumes. Oh, I don't know why he lost him. He came on and then I lost him. And the Gemara assumes that this Bryce's statement follows the opinion of Rabbi Akiva because of what it says. Let's see what the Bryce says, and then we'll see how the Gemara thinks that this Bryce is really Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara says, Man Tana Lahod the Tanya, who is the Tana who says this that we learned in this Brisa. So what does it says in the Brisa? The Brisa tells us about Yom Tov, about Yom Kippur, and about Shabbos. The difference. B'Yom Tov, Ma'acharim Lovoi, Umemaharin Lotzes. On Yom Tov, we are delayed in coming to shul, and we are quick to leave the shul. Oh, some people are always late and always quick. But here, the Mishnah, Rashi gives a reason why on Yom Tov people come late to shul. Because on Yom Tov, one is allowed to prepare meleches oichel nefesh, and since one is allowed to prepare meleches oichel nefesh, so people will therefore prepare before they come to shul. So they will prepare in their homes, and because of that, they'll come late. Look in the Rashi, but they don't want to stay too late in shul, because people want to go home and eat, enjoy the Yom Tov meal. So let's see inside. Man Tav Yom Tov Ma'acharin Lovoy, on Yom Tov we come late to shul, Umemaharin Lotzes, and we are quick to leave the shul. So Rashi, Yom Tov Ma'acharin Lovoy, on Yom Tov we delay in coming. That is Lebeis HaKnesses, that is to the shul. Why? Why are we delayed from coming to the shul? Because we need to trouble ourselves and occupy ourselves preparing Yom Tov. So it's explained in the tractate Sofrim. So that's the reason why we are in a rush. We're not in a rush. We come late because we are preparing our meal. Why are we quick to leave? So Rashi mishum simchas Yom Tov, because the joy of Yom Tov, we want to leave, get quickly home. That's a Yom Tov. What's a Yom Kippur? The Yom Kippurim. So over there, memaharin lovay, we are quick to come. And we understand, because since there is no preparation, there's no food on Yom Kippur, The reason why on Yom Tov they came late because they were preparing, but on Yom Kippur when there's no eating, so it's B'maharim Lovei. We are quick to come to shul. And also Ma'achrin Lotzis. Now, why do we delay to come out? So here the Gemara tries to see why do we come late on Yom Kippur. Now, of course, we think the Gemara answers at the end that the reason we come late for Yom Kippur, we go late, is because on Yom Kippur there's nothing to rush home to. There's no food, and therefore we stay late in the shul. And there's a lot of davening to do on Yom Kippur. So that's why we're late. But the Gemara thinks, the Gemara thinks that why are we ma'achrim notzis? Why are we delayed to come? Because the Gemara thinks that this goes like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, who said that on Yom Kippur we do 7 aliyahs. So that's why on Yom Kippur you're delayed because you have an extra aliyah. So the Gemara thinks in the beginning that this Mishnah that says that you come late, that you stay late, is because in Yom Kippur. The Gemara thinks that that's why this would follow Rabbi Akiva. Let's see in a minute. Further, this is still part of the Brisa Ube Shabbos. What's on Shabbos? Memarim Lovoi. You quick to come. Why? Again, there's no preparation because in Shabbos you're not allowed to prepare. On Yom Tov, you only time you delayed is on Yom Tov because on Yom Tov you prepare the meal, so you come late to shul because you're busy preparing the meal. But also, umemaharim lotzis, we're also quickly to go out, and in order to enjoy the Shabbos meal, so people leave quickly. So Dr. Rashi, Ubishabbos memarim lovei. There's no need to prepare shekvar tiknu hakoil me'erev Shabbos because everything has been prepared from before Shabbos. You can't cook on Shabbos, and most of the stuff you can't prepare, so you are ready to go. You can go to shul early. And the yofel l'mayir biyosam, and that's something which is nice to hasten coming to shul. That's nice. Likreis shema kivasikin, in order to read the Shema like the Vasikin. The Vasikin were known that they said the Shema Yisrael right before the Netzach Hamo, and they started davening with the Netzach Hamo, so they do it earlier. So the Mamarim Lovei was to start and to be able to do the Shema in the most perfect time, the best time to do it, which would be like the Vasikin, would be like by Netzach Hamo. So that's why they're quick to come. So we're not even talking about quick to come by 10 o'clock. We're talking about come early in the morning, Memarim Lovei. But also Memarim Lotzis, but you also are quick to leave. And that is, Rashi says, Mishumaynik Shabbos. That's because of the delight of Shabbos. So we're Memarim Lotzis. So basically, we have these 3 times that the Gemara is talking about. The Bryce is talking about. On Yom Tov, we come late too because we have to prepare, and we're quick to leave because we want to eat the Yom Tov. On Yom Kippur, we come quickly, again for the same reason, probably to daven with a Vasikin, as Rashi says, and we delay to leave. Doesn't say why, but the Gemara is going to think maybe because you read extra aliyah like Rabbi Akiva, and on Shabbos you come quickly in order to read like the Vasikin, the Shema, and you quickly leave in order for Enek Shabbos. So the Gemara says, Leimo Rabbi Akiva the Islay Gavra Yisera. Shall we say that this Brisa follows the view of Rabbi Akiva, who holds that in Yom Kippur we have an extra person? And the Gemara says, Afilu Teimo Rabbi Yishmael. Even if you're going to say that it goes like the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, no. Yom Kippur has 6 and Shabbos have 7. The fact that he says that you delayed is not because of the extra aliyah, but it's the nafish sidura de yoimah. It's a lot. Nafish means a lot. The order of the day is a lot. There's a lot davening to do. That's why you go late. There's nothing to do with that extra aliyah. That has to do with the fact that there is a long davening that we have to take care of. Okay, so that's one issue that the Gemara discussed. The Gemara further says, "Hani shloisha chamisha v'shiva keneged mi." We learned about 3 people getting aliyahs. We learned about 5 people getting aliyahs. We learned about 7 people getting aliyahs. The Gemara is going to ask. We also learned about 6 people getting aliyahs. That's going to be discussed separate. But the Gemara right now is asking these 3, 5, 7. Who does it correspond to? Why do we have 3? Why do we have 5? And why do we have 7? It needs to correspond to something. Hani shloisha chamisha v'shiva. These 3, 5, and 7 keneged me, corresponding to who? Who do they correspond to? So the Gemara, they correspond to. And the Gemara first brings down that there's a 2 opinions, but the Gemara is going to say who are the 2 opinions, so it's not so very clear. The Gemara says there is different opinions about who the opinions are. There is differences about who is the first opinion and who is the second opinion. Who are the 2? We don't even know before we say what the 2. So let's just go first in the Gemara. Who are this opinion? Now you have to. Who are these 2 opinions? In the olden days, of course, things were done orally, and sometimes the names, the authors, or who are the opinions, sometimes they get sort of confused. So in the Gemara, we find sometimes different names of the people who said the statements. So the Gemara says like this: Pligibo. So there's a machloikis, there's a disagreement in the reasoning between whom and who. Rabbi Yitzchok bar Nachmoni. So one of them is Rabbi Yitzchok bar Nachmoni, v'chad di imei, and one that goes along with him, and the other one with him. Who is that? Umonu. Who is that? Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi. Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi. The Gemara could technically say Rabbi Yitzchok bar Nachmoni and Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, but the Gemara says the one that goes along with him, that he was the one who objected. So that's one way of saying it. Amrillah, other people say the other way around. It's Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi v'chad di imei. It's the same names, but first it's Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, and the one that's with him, Umonu, and who is that? Rabbi Yitzchok bar Nachmoni. So either it's Rabbi Yitzchok bar Nachmoni and Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, or Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi and Rabbi Yitzchok bar Nachmoni. It's the same thing. It's just who is one, the way it was said. But here, Amri law, other people say that it's not Rabbi Shimon, it's Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmoni. He was another author, another rabbi. His name was not Shimon, his name was Rabbi Shmuel. Regardless, it's not connected to the actual discussion. It's only a matter of semantics here. If no one to know who is the one that said it. So that we have a different opinion. But what did they say? One of them said as follows: Chad Omar Keneged Birchas Kohanim. One says it corresponds to the blessings of the Kohanim. These different aliyahs go by the blessing of the Kohanim. We know that the blessing of the Kohanim is 3 psukim. Yivarach Hashem v'yishmerecha. That pasuk has 3 words. Then Yor Hashem panav elecha v'choneka. That pasuk has 5 words. The next pasuk, the third one, finally has Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yosim l'cha sholem. That pasuk has 7 words, corresponding to these 3, 5, and 7. Corresponding to them, we have these aliyahs. The aliyah of 3, the aliyah of 5, and the aliyah of 7. On the weekdays, we said we had 3. On Yom Tov, we had 5, and on Shabbos, we have 7. And the Gemara is going to say, the Gemara is not talking about 4. 4 seems to go along with 3. The Gemara doesn't ask about it, but it seems like the Gemara said earlier, that's 1 more than 3. So you want to make a distinction when you talk about Rosh Chodesh, and you want to talk about Chodesh Moed. But trying to remember that the Gemara specifically say a number for 4. I don't think the Gemara said a number for 4. Let's see. It wasn't one every day that has better, it gets another aliyah. The Gemara said that, but a very specific. No, we didn't have that. A very specific reasoning for that. But in any event, so over here the Gemara is saying the source, or it corresponds to 3, 5, and 7. It corresponds to Keneged Birchat Kohanim. That corresponds to the blessing of the Kohanim. Says Rashi, Birchat Kohanim, Shloisha Teves B'Pasuk Rishon. In the first pasuk we have 3 words. V'chamisha B'Pasuk Sheni. We have 5 words in the second pasuk of Yivrech Hashem V'Yishmerecha is 3 words. Yoyer Hashem Ponov Eilecha V'Choneka is 5 words. V'Shiva B'Pasuk Shlish, and then you have 7. Yisra Hashem Ponov Eilecha V'Yosim B'Cho Sholem is 7, and the third pasuk. That's what we have: 3, 5, and 7. That's one opinion. The other opinion says V'Chad Omar, and one says Keneged Shloisha Shomerei Hasaf Chamisha Meroye Pnei Hamelech Shiva Roye Pnei Hamelech. There is a pasuk in Malachim talking about the people that were guarding. So we call them over there. There is Shloisha. There are 3 Shomerei Hasaf. They guarded the threshold. Basically, they would not allow anybody to come into the house of the king, and they were guarding it. So the pasuk says over there were 3 over there, 3 people that guarded the entrance. That's sort of a honor guard or a protection guard, not to allow. And then it also in that same pasuk it says further, Chamisha Meroye Pnei Hamelech. It says that he took along the 3 Shomerei Hasaf, those 3 that guard the threshold, the entrance, and the Chamisha Meroye Pnei Hamelech. And there are 5 that would be the inner cabinet. Those that see the king, that would be the Chamisha. That would be the 5. So you have 3 plus 5. Then we have the pasuk by the Megillah. Over there we learn about that there were 7. There was Shiva Roye Pnei Hamelech. There were 7. Apparently, from the 7 there is 5. So you have 3, 5, and 7. Those are all in the guard of the king. So that would be sort of a honor guard for the king. And that's how we get the number 3 for the aliyahs. And one set of aliyahs, we get the number 5 for the other set of aliyahs, and then we have the number 7 for Shabbos aliyahs. Let's see the Rashi. Over here, you see, they almost seem the same words. Over there in that pasuk, it says, Mei Roye Pnei Hamelech. There's a mem. In the Megillah, it says Shiva Roye Pnei Hamelech. So these are the 5 which are mentioned in the pasuk in Malachim, and this is the pasuk in Megillah Esther. Chamisha Meroye Pnei Hamelech, V'Shiva Roye Pnei Hamelech. So he says Shivaim, the 7 that see Pnei Hamelech. That's actually 7, not 5. Kediksiv Shiva Sorei Poras Umodai. Over there it says the 7 Sorim of Persia and Modai. So that means that there are 7 of them. So it seems almost a contradiction. Is there 7 or is there 5? So that she explains. Umehem yesh chamisha chashuvim. From amongst the 7, there are another additional 5 that are more important. They are considered the chashuv. Kediksiv b'soif melachim. As the pasuk says in the end of Melachim, the pasuk talks there. It says, quote, Shloisha shomerei hasaf, 3 that guard the threshold. This is b'soif sefer Melachim. connect them to correspond to this 3, 5, and 7. That is Tiknu Elu. That's why they instituted this 3, 5, and 7 of the Aliyas Me'ain Dvar Malchus. Should be something like a kingdom. And just like the king was watched by 3, 5, and 7, this is the 3, 5, and 7. So those are the two opinions. One opinion is that it corresponds to the 3 psukim in the Bechas Kahanim, 3, 5, and 7. And the other one that it corresponds to the officers in the palace for the king, which is 3, 5, and 7. Tony Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi Yosef learned this brisa that this Gimel Chamisha Vishiva is basically redundant, but it's quoted in the name of Rabbi Yosef, the same that we learned before, that this 3 Gimel Chamisha Vishiva 3, 5, and 7 is as follows. Shloisha is Shemrei Hasaf. 3 is those who guard the threshold. Chamisha is Meroye Pnei HaMelech. That's in the Pasuk Melachim. Those are the ones that see the king's face. And Shiva is Roye Pnei HaMelech. They actually see. So there is 7, and from the 7 there is 5. That's the 3, 5, and 7. Omar le Abayis, Abayis says to Rabbi Yosef, my time in the Porish Lon Mar. How come up till this point you have not explained to us the reason for 3, 5, and 7? Amar lei. So Rabbi Yosef said to Abaye, Lo yahavi yodaino ditzarich tulei. I didn't know that you needed this explanation. Do you then ever ask me something and I don't tell you? So I had no idea that you needed it. If you needed it, I would know and I would have told you. Okay. So we explained 3, 5, and 7. What about Yom Kippur 6? We didn't explain that yet. Why do we have 6 aliyahs on Yom Kippur? Omar le Yaakov Minoah le Rabbi Yehuda. So Yaakov Minoah says to Rabbi Yehuda, Hani Shisha de Yom Kippurim keneged me. The 6 aliyahs that we get on Yom Kippur, that you call up 6 people, who does that correspond to? Omar le. So he says to him that is keneged Shisha. Those correspond to the 6. Sha'omdu mi'minoi shel Ezra v'shisha mismoile. There were 6 that stood on the right side of Ezra the scribe, and 6 that stood on his left side. We don't get 12, but we do 6. But 6, there were 6 and 6, so the number 6 is significant because they stood by Ezra the scribe's side. He quotes the verse where it says so. Shenemar, as we say in the pasuk in Nehemiah Ches, Vayamoid Ezra hasofer al Migdal Eitz. Ezra the scribe stationed himself, stood on a tower of wood. That would be like a bima. He stood on a platform of wood. Asher Osu, that they had made. Ledover, for this thing, or to speak. Let me just make sure I have the pasuk over here. Also ladover, for this item, for this matter. So they prepared it. And who stood next to him? Vayamad Etzloi. Who stood next to him? Matisya, V'Shema, V'Aniya, V'Uriya, V'Chelkiya, U'Masehu. These 6 were al Yeminai, on his right side. U'Mismoiloi, and from his left side, who was there? Pediya, U'Mishoil, Malkiya, V'Choshum, Chashbadana, Zechariah, and Mishlam. Or let's pronounce the words correctly, so you can see over here. Matisyo, V'Shema, V'Aniya, V'Uriya, V'Chilkiya, U'Maaseya, Al Yeminoi. They were on his right side. U'Mismoiloi, and from his left side was Pedoya, U'Mishoel, U'Malkiya, V'Choshum, V'Chashbadana, and Zechariah, and Meshulam. Okay. So how much did you count on his left side? We count not 6, we count 7. 1, Pedia, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7. How do you have 6 over there? He said we're 6 and 6. The Gemara says no, this is one name, Zechariah Meshulam. Hainu Zechariah, Hainu Meshulam. Zechariah and Meshulam is one and the same. So am I Korile Meshulam? But if his name was Zachariah, why do you call him Meshulam? Shulam means he was whole, he was complete. The Mishlam Be'uvda, he was whole in his action. Mishlam Be'uvda means Tomim Be'masav, he was whole in his actions. He was perfect in his action. So they called him Zachariah Mushlam. Today also we call somebody a Mushlam, means that he is a wholesome person. But this Zachariah is a Mushlam. So the number 6 comes based on that pasuk about the 6 and 6 that were standing to the right and the left of Ezra the scribe. Okay. Further, the Gemara says, Tana Rabbana. We learned in Abraisa. Question is, who is counted for 7? We need 7 aliyahs for Shabbos, right? So the Gemara, the Abraisa says, this is a very controversial Gemara over here, which is used by some to incorrectly justify women's aliyahs for the Torah. But the Gemara itself says they cannot get, but that's the source of it. So it says, Hakol oilim leminyan shiva. Everybody can be counted for the number 7. You need 7 aliyahs, you can bring anybody you want. Who? Who's everybody? Vafilu cotton, even if it's a minor. Vafilu isha. A woman can be one of the 7 aliyahs. But the Mishnah says, "Aval omru chachomim," but our sages said, "Isha loy tikra batoira." A woman shall not read in the Torah. Of course, in the olden days, as I mentioned, the person who got the aliyah read as well. Chachamim said, even though technically she's allowed, the Chachamim said a woman should not read in the Torah. Mipnei kavod tzibur. That is because of the respect for the community. It's not respectful to have a woman up there reading from the Torah. And, we've taken a lot of flack for that, and exactly that's another time. But the Torah, the Gemara clearly says, women shall not read in the Torah, not get the aliyah. Okay, now, so they had a question in the yeshiva. So we know that after we finish the Torah reading, we also give an aliyah to the one who's going to read from the prophet, the one who reads the Haftorah. And before he reads the Haftorah, he does a little portion, a repeat of the portion of the Torah. In most cases, when there is only the Parsha, he will reread several of the last psukim of the Shvi. So the question is, instead of rereading, Maftir Ma'u Sheyalim in Yeshiva, can we count them for 7? So instead of having 6 and 7, instead of having him read, let the last one have him read a portion of the Torah and do the Navi, and he'll be one of the 7. We don't need to have 8. Can the Maftir get one of the 8? Maftir Mahu Sheyala Leminyan Shiva. Can the Maftir count part of the number of 7? So the Gemara says this is also a disagreement between Rav Huna and Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba. Between Rav Huna and Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, they disagree. Chad Omar Oila. One of them says that it counts, that you can count the maftir as one of the 7. So you don't need 8 people, you need only 7 aliyahs, and the maftir is one of the 7, that part that he reads, the maftir. Some said no, it does not count. Why? What's the reasoning? The one who says it counts, he reads in the Torah. So what do we care, since he's reading of the Torah? Why should we not count it? What's the opinion of the one that says it doesn't count? And we go by that opinion, we don't count it, it is separately. Is Kidu Ula, like the opinion of Ula. This goes like follows Ula's opinion. The Amar Ula, or Ula says, Mipnei ma hamaftir benovi tzorich sheyikra batoira techila. Why, if we want someone to read from the prophets, why do we give him also first to read in the Torah? Why don't we just have him do the Haftorah, just read from the prophet without reading from the Torah? Why do we say the one who does the Haftorah and the Navi, that Tzorich Sheyikra HaTorah Tchila, that he needs to read first in the Torah? And the answer is Mipnei Kavod Torah. That is because of the honor of the Torah, which means we don't want a person getting an aliyah and another person which is reading part of the Torah and another person reading in the prophets equal. So you have like 7 people reading in the Torah and one person reads from the Navi, and we're almost look like we're equating the Torah to the Navi. 7 read this, 1 reads that, and it seems at the same level. We say, no. The one who reads from the Navi has to also read from the Torah to show that he's also getting a portion of the Torah. Mipnei kavod Torah, because of the honor of Torah. How does the Rashi say this? Mipnei kavod Torah. So Rashi says, "Shelo yehei kavod Torah v'kavod Navi shavet." We don't want the honor of the Torah and the honor of the prophet should be equal. So, for that reason, he's not really reading from the Torah because he's part of the reading of the Torah. He's only reading from the Torah as not to come across that he's just doing the Navi alone. The Kivon, the Mishum Kavod Torahu, v'lo Mishum Chava, Koiva Lab Minyanahu. Since his reading is just so as an honor for the Torah, and not because he has to read it, we can't count it. It's not part of the number. So he's not part of the 7, because his reading of the Torah is for another reason. As the Gemara said, the Kivan the Mishum Kavod Torahu, the Minyana Leisolik. Since it's for the honor of Torah, it cannot be counted as the 7. So we need 7 regular aliyahs, and the maftir would get the Haftorah, would get the maftir because he's reading the Navi and the honor of the Torah. So he's also going to read a portion of the Torah for it. Okay, so those are the 2 opinions between whether you can count the maftir as part of the 7 or it's a separate, he's an addition. So the Gemara challenges, the Gemara says that it seems like he's part of the 7, because the Gemara says like this, Meisve, Hamaftir benovi, the one who does the Haftorah in the prophets, it says, Lo yivchos me'echad me'esrim ve'echad psukim. The Haftorah that you read has to have a minimum of 21 verses in it. The Haftorah needs 21 verses. Why 21 verses? Kineged shiva shekaru b'Torah, to correspond to the 7 that read in the Torah. You had 7 people reading. Each one that reads in the Torah needs to get a minimum of 3 psukim. 7 times 3 is 21. So the Haftorah has to have 21 psukim to correspond to the aliyahs. Rashi says, "Kineged zayin shekaru b'Torah." Even though the 7 that actually read the Torah could be a larger number, but minimally they need, could be they read more psukim, but they need minimally 3. So to correspond, 7 times 3. Kineged zayin shekaru b'Torah. Leipiches kol echad mishloisha psukim. Either any one of them did not do any less than 3 psukim. So that's why you need 21 psukim in the Navi. So the Gemara asks, that's the end of the statement of the Brisa. But if we shall say that the maftir does not count as part of the 7, so you actually have 7 times 8. So you should need 24 psukim. And if it is, like you say, that the opinion that says that also the Haftorah has to get, it doesn't count. It's an additional psukim for the one who's reading the Navi. The Gemara says, Esrim ba'arba havin. So then it turns out that there's 24, because you need an extra, you need 3 times 8, not 3 times 7, because you have an 8th aliyah there. So let's do the Rashi. If it is true that he doesn't count part of the number, that he's not minyan, So then you have 8 people reading in the Torah. Then we would require 24 in the Navi. Why do you say 21? Gemara said that's not a question. Because we don't need to correspond to the 8th one, because the 8th one is not really reading because he has to read. He's only reading it for the covet of the Torah. And for the Gemara says, Kivan the Bishum Kovet Torah, since this is for the honor of Torah, so we don't need to correspond to him. We don't need additional psukim for him. We don't have to set additional 3 psukim in the prophet to correspond to those 3 psukim that the maftir has read in the Torah. So therefore, we're not going to do that. Okay. So basically, the Gemara says you don't prove that one way from this, we don't have a proof. But again, the halacha is, the way we do it, is that we have 8 people reading from the Torah, and so we have 7 plus 1, and the maftir is not part of the 7. He has his own aliyah. He's number 8. Now the Gemara said that you need at least 21 psukim. So Matkif lo Rava, so Rava challenged this. Barei, we have the pasuk in Yirmiyah Oile Seichem Sevu. That's one of the aliyahs that we read in the Haftorah. The Lo Havi Esrim V'chad. It's not 21. And Vikarina, and we do read it. So we find that we read Haftorah that does not have 21 psukim. You just said you need 21 psukim. And that's the Haftorah that from Yirmiyahu. And the Gemara says Shani Hosom. Over there it's different. The Soli Kinyana, the subject matter has concluded. We finished. We finished the subject matter. We're not going to start a new subject matter. And we finished it under 21 psukim. So the Gemara says, okay, but you seem to say that it's only because it ended. But other than that, you would require always to have at least 21 psukim. The Gemara v'heichi de loy solik inyona loy, and where the subject matter is not finished, over there you would not interrupt. You must do at least 21. But didn't Rav Shmuel bar Abba say, Zimnin sagin havi koimna kamei de Rabbi Yochanan? Many times I was in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Once we read 10 psukim, he told us stop. 10 psukim, he didn't tell us to do no 21 psukim. 10 psukim, he said stop. Why are you telling me 21? Not even over there. The subject matter didn't finish. It still didn't make us do more than 10 psukim. Why are you saying 21? The Gemara said, Mokem sheyesh turgamon shani. In a place where they use a translator. So every time you say a pasuk, you do somebody translating it. It's a big trouble. So over there, 10 would be sufficient. But if you don't have a turgamon, you don't have a translator that reads it out loud and explains it to the community, then we don't need, then we need 21. Where it says Mokum sheyesh turgamon shani, in a place where there's a translator is different, and Rashi explains Mokum sheyesh turgamon shani, sheyesh toirach litzibur, because there is a trouble for the community. The Tani Rab Tachlifa bar Shmuel, or Rab Tachlifa bar Shmuel learned that lo yishonu ela b'mokum sheyesh turgamon. That this halacha applies when there is no turgamon. If there is no translator over there, so over there we say that you need to have at least 21 psukim. But in a case of a mokum sheyesh turgamon, pesach. But if you have a place where you do have a turgamon, so over there you will stop. Okay, this brings us to the end of this mission over here. And Amir Hashem, next time we'll start